Well, it's Friday, and they have caught Charlie Kirk's killer, coward, who absolutely somehow got brainwashed enough to believe it was a good idea to kill a guy who wanted to debate and was open to talk to anybody. Welcome to Utah Stories. My name is Richard Marcosian. I have to say I've kind of been reeling this week. I think that this political assassination will go down in history and reverberate for years and decades to come as one of the worst, most heinous acts of violence in our country's history. I'm honestly trying to comprehend everything that's happened. I witnessed a video of the Ukrainian refugee girl getting killed in the train, and then just hours later, I saw Charlie Kirk get shot. To see all this violence happening in our country, I want to make one point very clear about Charlie Kirk. Whether you agree with him or not, you need to understand, everybody needs to understand, that when we exchange words, that is a replacement for exchanging bullets or violence. Exchanging words has been the long-standing Western tradition that has made society function. I read a book about ancient Greece recently, and the progression of ancient Greece so quick when they imposed the Senate and had a government for and by the people was facilitated by spirited debate. If there's any professors or members of the media who actually think, or influencers who actually think it's better to use bullets instead of words, you need to have your head checked, honestly. Whether you agreed with Charlie Kirk's positions or not, he was a man who practiced and exercised the First Amendment, which is absolutely the greatest asset of our country. I don't care about our military or our industrial base or our corporations or our Wall Street. Our best asset of our country is our freedom of speech, and it is the greatest thing we have going for us. So welcome to Utah Stories. This is a new segment we are doing. We're going to possibly change the name of the podcast, this segment, to Beyond the Beehive. We planned this weeks ago to launch this week. The idea behind the podcast is to get out of our echo chambers and transcend the idea that you're either in the blue hive or the red hive, and believe instead we should just talk to each other, examining issues that affect the quality of life here in Utah and in the West, using the lenses of history and economics more than politics and spin, and logic and reasoning more than emotion and hatred. I've been a reporter now for 20 years. I've been on the streets interviewing people. We've represented the voice of local Utah. And this week I have been rattled by the comments and the commentary that somehow justifies the killing of Charlie Kirk here on the campus of UVU. And I honestly can't understand it. Did I agree with everything Charlie Kirk had to say? Absolutely not. I did not agree with everything. But what I saw him doing was being a champion for liberty and justice. And if somebody were on the left doing the same exact thing, I would be a champion for them. But here's what I'm going to do today, and I hope you stick with me. We are going to dive into the history of violence on university campuses. So back in 2017, I witnessed some, and I'm going to be getting into that story. But there's been a long history of violence on university campuses when speech essentially broke down. So let's start by examining what happened in the 1960s, the last time we saw a lot of political violence beginning on university campuses, then later resulting into the political assassinations of three major figures, Martin Luther King, JFK, and RFK. Let's take a look at what happened during that period of time. So during the Vietnam War protests, there were obviously a lot of people in opposition to the war. And one of the major blowups happened at Kent State University. That's where police clashed with protesters and started using tear gas. Eventually, violence erupted and there was shooting, and it was obviously a problem where the authorities did not believe the students should be marching or chanting or saying anything negative about the Vietnam War. The result of that suppression was that the free speech movement on the left was especially strong, and on the right, there were people trying to suppress it. So as we see in this example, and in the 60s, the left was the strong champion of free speech, and the right was more the suppressor of anti-war violence and rhetoric. They were also the suppressor of the psychedelic movement. The reason I bring this up is I want to point out that as the pendulum swings from one way to the other, the values do not swing with the parties. Parties adopt their values to build consensus. They don't adopt their values to build truth. Today, the pendulum has moved in many, many times, and it would appear the greatest champions of free speech are those on the right. Does that mean the left is completely wrong and the right is completely right? No. That's what this program's all about. And that's why now I want to get into how and why Antifa, this idea of violence being a solution, has taken root in college campuses. Now, I want to tell you a story. Back in 2002, I was finishing up my degree at the University of Utah, and I was told I have to take a diversity requirement credit. And I thought, oh, wow, okay, cool. I'm going to learn some cool diversity stuff. And it was a Native American teacher. And the first day I was told, first of all, white people are the oppressors of all dark-skinned people. White people ushered in capitalism on the backs of black-skinned people through slavery. I was told we were genocidal toward the Native American people. And basically, if I'm a white person, I really, really suck. And basically all these justifications for what I later learned was affirmative action and affirmative action policy. That was disturbing to me. And I felt really awful because I'd always thought that I lived in a great country. I knew that my ancestors from Armenia had escaped the Turkish genocide of Armenians. They lost all their land in Armenia. And I was being told I was a genocider. But I never lost this thought that I felt lucky to be in America. I don't know. I've always felt lucky to be an American. I've always felt proud to be an American. And I wasn't going to let anybody tell me otherwise. However, I decided I was going to fulfill that diversity requirement by asking my professor if I could go down to the Ute Indian Reservation and do a documentary film on the Ute Indians. Because I loved meeting new people. I loved ethnic minorities. This would be fun. And it was enlightening. However, that's a huge another rabbit hole, another story. I'll tell you the rest of that later on. But for now, just know I fulfilled that diversity requirement. But then while doing that, I realized this sort of indoctrination that America is a bad country, that we are genocidal, awful people because of what happened with Native Americans and African Americans, that was new to me. But I never forgot that little seed, and I realized that was a growing sentiment among students at the universities at that time. So now let's flash forward to 2017, where you have not only ethnic studies and diversity requirement, but you have gender studies, you have sociological departments that are saying capitalism is evil. We have, at the University of Utah, a lot of Marxist professors and ideology. Now, let's look at what happened then. I decided to ride my bike and take my camera to the University of Utah to see this protest that's organized by the Students for a Democratic Society. Who are they?
Right to rebel, and Shapiro go to hell. It is right to rebel, and Shapiro go to hell. It is right to rebel, and Shapiro go to hell. It is right to rebel.
They are actually going to be the folks who were so pro-free speech in the 1960s. They were organizing a protest saying, Ben Shapiro go to hell. I'm going to show clips of that in a bit. And it was incredibly dynamic. And these kids were protesting pro-Black Lives Matter. White kids, like, Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
And I'm like, well, this is weird. This is like bizarro world. I mean, it's like what I saw in 2002, magnified and amplified. Here's a bunch of white kids, social justice warriors, just cheering on the idea that we are a bunch of assholes as white people.
What is Ben Shapiro saying that's hateful?
So first of all, Ben Shapiro denies the existence of racism as an institution, and he just views it as like something that one person is racist. No, like the system is racist, and if we do not acknowledge that, then nothing's gonna ever change and nothing's gonna ever get fixed, and people can get hurt from that.
And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. It seemed kind of innocuous, and like students really did not know who Ben Shapiro really was.
What does everybody not like about Ben Shapiro?
It is right to rebel!
I mean, how do you want to answer that? I mean, besides that he spews hate?
He spews hate?
Yeah. Which could lead to violence? From both sides, maybe?
What's an example of the hate he
You haven't
spews?
seen some of the stuff that's happened across the country in terms of people who propagate this kind of violence through this kind of speech. Physical violence, institutional violence. That's it. I'm done talking to you.
And some students didn't even really know what the theories they were supposed to be protesting were all about.
How about you guys? What brought you out tonight?
Brought me out because I think that Ben Shapiro is transphobic and racist rhetoric is harmful to our campus.
What does he say that's racist?
Well, exactly what Brim was just telling you about, that racism is not an institution. It is just, you know, like it. Sorry.
It is an institution?
Sorry.
You know, I always kind of cringe when I watch that clip because I actually kind of feel sorry for these kids. They don't really know why they're there. It's kind of a social event, and they want to feel like they're doing something meaningful and valuable in the world. So you can't blame these kids who are brainwashed by leftists. However, there was an attempt by Antifa to apparently take some people out, possibly Ben Shapiro. And those efforts were thwarted by blogger, YouTuber at the time, Steven Crowder.
People, power, people!
Not so much. So
We'll do it, Crowder.
if you could, thank you guys.
100%.
Woo! If that's why I see it. That's why I'm asking where your hands to be where I can see them. We just had some.
That came up to me.
The cops right now, giving him some footage. Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, Nake Jared's the hero here today. You'll see tomorrow. He did some awesome work.
Can you describe what he did?
Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. What actually happened, and Channel 4, or I should say ABC News, did a really in-depth piece about what happened that day. Steven Crowder had a guy working for him named Not Gay Jared, and that was obviously a nickname, but he came, I think, a few weeks before the protest. He infiltrated the local Antifa, and he was hanging out with the people who were the Antifa folks, and he said, hey, I just want to be just like you guys. What are we doing here?
The idea is just plain clothes and hard tactics, and I don't think they'll know what hit them because they're not prepared for what we're planning.
So apparently these guys wanted to do a little more than just stop Ben Shapiro from speaking. With Not Gay Jared Monroe, going undercover, this is what he discovered.
You're gonna take the knife. How much? Yeah, we got 2 AKs coming.
Matt McDonald's here with some old.
So this story did not exactly blow up in the mainstream media like Steven Crowder had hoped, but he did get on Joe Rogan.
Cover with Antifa, and that one was disturbing to me because first of all, you look like you slide right in like a glove, buddy. Like
I was almost matching the guy when I got there. Guy, gal, we don't know. And I thought our costume wardrobe lady had actually just stolen his clothes because it was almost identical.
Yeah.
So then I swear ABC News did something like an expose on that day in Utah. And interestingly enough, I cannot find that anywhere on YouTube. But what I can find is plenty of pro-Antifa news clips from the mainstream media.
Movement, short for anti-fascist.
Right now, we're in a very dangerous place. We're in a very troubling place.
Lacey McCauley, a self-described anarchist and mild-mannered worker at a nonprofit by day, was one of the few Antifa activists willing to go on camera for this report.
A lot of people basically have been responding by caring to join the anti-fascist movement.
Antifa is on the hard left. In fact, many would argue parts of them aren't even left, they're anarchists.
And they're not afraid to play rough. At this Trump campaign rally in San Jose last June, I saw it up close.
What happened? I was walking on the street and this guy like sucker punched me in the back of the head.
Antifa protesters brutalized Trump supporters at random, throwing eggs at them,
Oh my God!
beating them bloody, and attacking their cars.
There's no doubt that the Antifa believe that physical confrontation is necessary to prevent the rise of white supremacy.
The protest
His new book, Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook. In part one, Mark, we talked about the origins of Antifa. But just for the beginning here, explain what Antifa is.
Right. So Antifa is a pan-left politics of social revolution applied to fighting the far right. It believes in using direct action rather than turning to the state or the police to stop the fascist advance.
So as all the Antifa folks and Black Lives Matter folks were being cheered on in both universities and by the media, another man began to take prominence, and of course that man was Charlie Kirk. Ben Shapiro, I did not see him at universities very often anymore because the violence was getting out of control. But Charlie Kirk saw himself in a different kind of role.
I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
I've never seen someone do this.
Well, it's a growing trend because people like me are facing violence, assaults, the left. Yes, the campus Antifa. I've been stormed out of restaurants. I've been assaulted publicly, multiple death threats.
Okay, so what's your goal in all this?
There's more people that agree with me than some people would actually believe, and they come out of the woodwork when I do stuff like this. We record all of it so that we put on the internet so people can see these ideas collide. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose.
So the Wall Street Journal came out with a report that the bullet casings of the shooter had Antifa writings and transgender writings on them. I don't know the details about this. We finally do have a picture of the alleged shooter who is at large at this moment today, September 11th. Hopefully they're going to catch him by the time you watch this video. But what it comes down to is that if you are indoctrinated as a student to believe that white people have committed terrible atrocities to the Native Americans, terrible atrocities when it comes to slavery, you believe that your country is not a good place, that capitalism is evil, then essentially you are going to somehow justify in your brain that maybe something like this is okay. Maybe the guy who's trying to preserve the idea that Western ideals and the Western civilization is still a great thing and spirited debate is a good thing, maybe you can somehow justify in your mind, if you're an Antifa member, to kill somebody who you believe is a Nazi. And of course, this is extremely twisted, extremely twisted and distorted view of reality. I actually feel sorry for anybody who believes this way. I believe Charlie Kirk did too. I believe that's why he wanted to talk to these folks. He wanted to confront them and challenge them in their ideas and their ideology. And so, again, back to the mission of this podcast, we want to talk about both sides of every issue. We want to talk to people on both sides of the aisle. We want to transcend politics, and we want to go beyond the beehive of our talking points, of our echo chambers, of our diatribes people seem to repeat over and over again, as like Trump is a Nazi, MAGAs are Nazis, everybody's fascist. Let's learn about what fascism is. Let's take a look and dive into history. Let's use economics, logic, and reasoning to actually understand the issues that are impacting the quality of life here in Utah as we progress into the future. So I invite you to join me. A big part of the success of this program will come from you leaving comments, will come from you subscribing to this channel, sharing, going out to utahstories.com, subscribing to our free digital newsletter. I hope you do that. And if while you're at it, if you'd like to become a member of Utah Stories, we'll send you Faces of Utah magazine as well as Utah Stories magazine. Faces comes once every 6 months. And it's basically a leadership and success journal to Utah, celebrating all the amazing entrepreneurs who shape and make the face of Utah the way it is. It's been my pleasure to have an amazing team of people to work with on these projects, and join our community. We'd love to have more of you here. And I think even if you are more far in the camp of conservatism or far in the camp of liberalism, I think it's about time we start getting out of our beehives and speaking to each other. So if you like that mission and you like those values, join us. I'd love to have you. So with that, my name is Rich Markosian. I'm the editor-publisher of Utah Stories. Thanks for joining me.
Let's go. I got big dreams, I'ma do big things. Yeah, you see me on the big screen looking so clean. I don't move slow, I move fast right past anybody taking life for granted. Yeah, that's too bad. I'd be grateful for everything that I have. You only got this life, you don't get it back. Make the most of it, become the best that I can. Everybody look at me, I got a plan. You gotta work hard, play hard, do it from the start. Cause how you do anything is everything is hard.